welcome to another episode of CAPISAR Podcast. Subscribe to CAPISAR's newsletter by opening capisar.org, or if you need further information, send out an email to info@capisar.org. So I am today very honored and privileged to be joined by astrologer Stormie Grace. And I met Stormie Grace in England during the conference. And when Stormie Grace was there, everything was filled with grace. And, thanks for joining this show. And it's so wonderful to meet you.
Yes, thank you for having me. And the whole series that you've been doing for CAPISAR has been really good. So congratulations to everybody on this as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think CAPISAR has kind of jumped leaps and bounds, and now it's really the time to kind of get going.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for support. I think you have been kind of very encouraging of all these things. So just to kind of set the scene, we are going to talk about astrology as a business with Stormie Grace, because she holds a doctorate in business administration. And when I was thinking about this particular topic, it was almost like Stormie Grace was natural into my mind to do this episode, and I did not kind of think beyond. So that is one thing. And one of the most important things is that astrology is one of those very, very rare fields where our work gets deeply personal with clients and students and whatever it is. But it also has to be treated as a profession. So at some point, the person who is doing all these things needs to kind of fill their stomach and also feed their family, and also live a life, more importantly. So, and for that, things have to be sustainable. And the public perception is often that astrologers kind of do the charts, but behind the scenes, there is a lot involved. Like there is marketing, there is advertising, there is admin work, there is content creation, there is constant learning that astrologers need to embark upon, because an astrologer kind of can never be satisfied by just one course or by reading a few books. And one thing is, an astrologer can never do that. And another thing is, the astrologers are naturally curious and they want to always keep updating themselves. And just their own ego kind of doesn't let them sit idle. So they have to kind of keep doing something. So today, Stormie, I want to talk about some of the realities about how astrology can be a business and what are the intricacies that are involved in the background. So there is hard work, but also hard work, and how to make this smart work and try to make this all sustainable, and astrologers can have a fulfilled stomach.
Yeah, right. There's no good astrology when you're hungry. As a Taurus, I say that really deeply. There's just we're not our full selves when we're starving, whether that be that we are starving for a knowledge that we crave, whether it's nutritionally, whether it's spiritually, or whether it's financially. And so that is a big principle that I think is something we've probably always known, but it's the unpaid mystic, to me, is a little bit more of a modern myth that took on a life of its own, honestly. And maybe the world just didn't allow for astrologers to be up and out the way that we are today. So I take that into account. But one of the things that I think about when we talk about how do we turn astrology into a business is that we first go back and look at our history. Across the globe, astrologers were advising kings. They were helping make state decisions. We were with priests, we were with scholars, and we were, if not on some kind of stipend, there was some kind of compensation for the practice that we were doing, right? And whether it was calculations or calendars, whatever, Johannes Kepler wrote horoscopes and almanacs. We know this stuff, but they were paid in some way for their expertise. So that's why I also say I think that the modern unpaid mystic is not, I don't know where this came from, but I'm not here to see that stay because we are, as astrologers, we work like everyone else. We're typical professionals. We are
Yeah.
typical professionals because we have a skill, and our skill serves in a very particular way. So,
Yeah.
in I like astrology plus strategy. I like some practical plus the soul mythical magic place. That's how I seem to work. So having this place where we understand that, yeah, like astrology is this sacred language for sure,
Mm.
but it's also a livelihood, and it is soul to soul contact. So there's a lot of depth that's going on, right? So I feel like we have to be in the container today to fully acknowledge that. The other thing I think is really important about talking about astrology as a business is to give us a little bit of space from our practice,
Ah.
because I know personally, and I work with other creative entrepreneurs and astrologers to build their business, there can be this idea that I have problems in my own chart or in my own being around pricing and value and these money, right?
Yeah.
Money. And it's mine. It's mine to work on. It's not my business's. Like,
Yeah.
some days as a woman, I'm like, listen, if you catch me on a certain day, I'm worth $5,000 right now. You catch me on another, I'm like 2 cents. So this valuing of the self as I'm learning my lesson is a pretty up and down kind of place. And I think we can be too personalized with our businesses instead of offering people consistently our skill through our business, which has a consistent, tangible value.
Yeah.
So I think that this is the other reason I'm on the campaign right now for us to be serious about not only teaching the craft, and we have globally the best of the best, I think, out there teaching the craft, but
Yeah.
we have to also incorporate now teaching the company,
Yeah.
because in it, business allows there to be a ritual boundary around what we do as well, right? Like, it keeps it clean, because we get in there with people, and it can get personal. And when it can get more personal, it can also become unethical very quickly,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Or it gets too personal, and then I'm in burnout and my astrological medicine starts to disappear because I'm so tired. So this is why, for me, I'm in the space of we need to teach the company so that we can also understand how to create systems and schedule and pricing that creates longevity, that just traditional business has allowed people to fill their bellies and grow and care for their
Yeah.
families as well as their clients over time. So yeah, sorry, I feel like that was a very long answer.
It's brilliant. I think
to
it's
that.
more of a conversation where we are headed. So you put a few brilliant points. Like, one is like it's unknown when this idea of unpaid mystic came, because even in the Hellenistic tradition, as old as Hellenistic tradition, we know that astrologers had their own patronage for what they did
Mhm.
as astrologers. And you again mentioned about courtrooms, astrologers in courtrooms having doing their job, for which they were probably kind of compensated very handsomely. Because if you
Yeah.
answer a king is not going to kind of leave you just like that. So it's a
Mhm.
and from what I know from studying history, um, astrologers kind of were very well taken care of, and there was not just one astrologer in a courtroom. There were a council of astrologers who were kind of supporting various decision making processes across ministries, and this is true in various cultures. So again, which goes back to this mysterious unpaid mystic, which is a little unfair. So and and you also mentioned another thing towards the end of your thing, like, but that kind of stuck with me is business, like whatever we do with our time, is business acts as a boundary and it kind of helps us value what we do, and more importantly it sets a boundary. And you mentioned we don't get burnt out, which is very important. So when there is a boundary, like you write for 3 hours and you get paid this much, or you do a
Mhm.
consultation for 1 hour, you book from a website and you get a consultation for 1 hour, and that's the boundary. It's the boundary for both client and the astrologer, not just one sided. So an astrologer can always keep
Mhm.
talking. I mean, astrologers have very curious Mercury and they cannot stop talking. So, so they can just go on and the client might get annoyed. So, I mean, but it could be the other side also. So, basically, I understand that money can kind of act as a boundary, saving this space for both the parties. So, before going further with this, I want to kind of establish why you are a very good person to talk about this concept. You had this doctorate in business administration, and then you kind of jumped into YouTube channel. I think I mean, in preparation of this episode, I went back and saw some videos before 8 or 9 years when you started, and the way you have transformed as an astrologer, and also as a content creator is mind blowing. So, and I think there is some kind of a, you know there is a human element that is involved, because you as a human,
Mhm.
you have gone through a lot of pain and you have learned so much, and then it has helped your evolutionary process both as an astrologer and also as a professional. So, when did you make this conscious decision of, you know, taking this astrology as a full-time profession, and what made you kind of do that, and how did you kind of believe that this was your thing, and you could kind of set up a successful
Yeah.
professional setup where you're not just helping yourself, but you're helping your family, and you're also helping a lot of other people, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is a very good thing. So yeah, I was very curious about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so for me, honestly, astrology, Saturn plays a big role. I have a south node in Capricorn, and so Saturn and I get along very well, and Saturn gets my attention to build things and very quickly, and I seem to respond well to that. So it's interesting that at my, I was 7, I was right there at my Saturn square, and this is where astrology represented itself to me outside of some kind of knowing in my space at a metaphysical fair that my mother took me to, and I watched this astrologer doing a chart. She was hand creating a chart, and it was like I had watched something that I had done 1,000 times. I wasn't watching her do it, I was just working with her, is what it felt like. So for me, the space of astrology itself has always been here. I have never once thought to myself, I need to be afraid of not doing astrology. I knew it would always be in my life in some way, and I've not ever felt like I have to prove myself in astrology, right? Like it's like the knowledge is
Yeah.
there and I can continue to grow with it. And I think that that's important for me to say out loud because I'm a professional astrologer. But then I also realized that something in my story this time was about not only building the container to take astrology as a profession and lift an entire field and be a part of the people who want to do that. So bringing in that business element was really important for me to come to. So I did go to school, and I am a Taurus. Like I just don't want to be hungry or poor. Like at a very
Yeah.
simple level, I don't want to do any of that. And I have done both of those things and I did not enjoy it. And so as a being responsive to the things happening in my chart, I said, no, wait a minute. I do know how to build. I do know Saturn. I know how to build. So how can I
Mm.
build this? And then I started to, at my Saturn return, is when I became a professional astrologer. I stepped out here and I didn't step out with all the confidence, my shoulders back. I stepped out crying, first of all, because I was shocked. I really thought I would go a very traditional route, become a doctor, become a lawyer. These are the things that my family are. Um, I knew at some point I would practice astrology. I just didn't know when it was going to be that day, And
Mm.
so I started this crying, honestly, terrified. And it's why I say that my astrological practice and my life are an existence built on a lot of faith because I had to close my eyes and listen to the universe and then apply practical skills to what I was doing. And that is how it came to be. And so I also had a lot of delusion and a lot of audacity to come on out here on YouTube and just start. I just started. And that is a thing that I like about creative people. We're happy to go dabble in something and like see what it is. Let's just go, I don't know. We're just kind of like, forget it. Let's just go see. And that has served me well because I came onto YouTube and I just started. I just started using what I had. And I wasn't purely applying a business background at that time. I was so scared. I just needed to start talking. And then I started to see what YouTube was and what it could do. And I was like, well, now wait a minute. I can be putting out content for fun and for free and to help and to teach people and get them into this astrological space. And behind the scenes, I can build something that can sustain my family because I started my practice with 2 small children with bills in school, like I was going to do some Saturn work if it killed me. And so that is how it started. But I just want to say that for me, and it's just a part of my chart story, I think, coming into it and just needing to get started, it was always the idea that I wanted astrology to have public legitimacy again. I'm like, I want that for me, and I want that for us, right? I want economic participation from astrologers.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because I'm like that kind or anything. Like, I don't know, but it just is my passion project.
I think it's part of our moral responsibility to kind of communicate what is the right thing, and part of doing the right thing is trying to be part of this making astrology publicly an accepted phenomenon. So yeah, that is really important. I think that's a very touching thing as well. And but an astrologer can set up a YouTube channel and start talking, and they can do whatever they like. So they can start working on the transits, or they can take the teacher's route, or they can kind of mix and match both the things. But but how do they kind of figure out a way to kind of build astrology as a business? Because YouTube can act as a funnel to bring some clients, and but what do they kind of need to do with it? I know you have this amazing school which is Legacia, for your YouTube, Legacia Academy, if I'm not wrong, and if I did not murder the pronunciation. Legacia, okay, sorry. So but I don't want you to kind of give away everything, but it's a kind of a setup. Like some astrologers kind of just wait for them to kind of be this perfect and scholarly or knowledgeable astrologers, and some people kind of tend to put this a little too longer than I'm not talking about practice, but I'm talking about content creation. Because at the end of the day, in postmodern era, we all need to kind of create content to put our work outside for people to see and come to us, and there is no other way to kind of reach people. And YouTube is one of those places.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please go on. I think you caught.
Yeah, well, so what do? I think that's a great place to start. And the first thing is if you are here and you're serious and you're thinking, okay, I want to be a professional astrologer, right? Because that's really what I address the most in how I work and kind of the spaces I'm in, is people who want to turn this into a career. So if you're thinking, I want to go down this route, like, first of all, I would say get some kind of mentorship, right? Just like anything else, when we want to build something, get some kind of mentorship, whatever that is. There are wonderful business channels, not just mine, to go and to start to listen and kind of see, how do you want to shape things? And also, what exactly do you have to offer, right? Because kind of starting to figure out, yes, you may be an evolutionary astrologer, but who do you work with? Because when people say or when an astrologer will say I do evolutionary astrology for people, I'm like, that's not actually correct. In some esoteric sense, that is correct, but if the majority of people who will talk to you are women, you appear to be an evolutionary astrologer who helps women with a particular set of things. So finding out beyond your skill, what do you actually do? And I like to use a parallel of medicine to help people no matter where they're at on the journey, right? Like all doctors, even the dentists, know CPR, and we all have some knowledge of the body, right? There's a common knowledge that everybody's going to come into it. But then we branch off into who you are and what you really specialize. Do you do feet? Do you do plastics? Do you focus on nose and ears? Do you do babies? What is your thing that you can really shine through and help a particular population with? And it doesn't mean that you won't pivot later, right? But starting out first to figure out in building your business, who do you actually serve really well, is a place I would tell everybody to start investigating right now. It's also going to shorten your journey to having some kind of success, right? Because if you're coming out in a professional capacity to build a business and do this as a profession, that business needs to do two things. It needs to make money and it needs to pay taxes. So you want to get on that road as quickly as possible. And that is sometimes a challenge with astrologers and creative people, right? So that is a place, though, I would say to start, is to first of all say, okay, I am serious about this. I want to make money off this. I want to build a life with this. Or to say, I'm just kind of in the hobby stage right now, so I have a chance to just play around, check out YouTube. Either container you find yourself, start, learn about YouTube, learn what's out there. But also, I think it's really important that we talk to our schools and our programs about, if you're not going to offer the business side, like a full business side of how to do this, refer to others who are doing that. As Legatia Academy got started, I partnered and paired up with some other astrology programs that are out there because they want to just offer the craft and I want to offer the business.
Excellent.
So I think it's something that we can all take on as a community, going, oh, okay, we need to offer the professional side as well, because that again lifts that public legitimacy for us.
Yeah.
And when we're all operating above board, we're paying taxes, we're registering our entities, we're using contracts, we've got onboarding practices. This takes the whole thing to another level for us globally, I think.
Yeah. So, best place to learn is to start doing whatever we want to do, and you basically put in. You said find out your thing, and that is where you start, and figure out whom you want to talk to. Basically, kind of just do a small market research and understand which kind of people you want to reach, and what is your content or what is your strategy. Like if relationships are your thing, so do relationships on your channel or whatever social media that you're familiar with. So the idea is kind of, be it hobby or if it is a serious work, either way, creating content is the only way we will learn creating content, and there is no other way around. So there are various hats that an astrologer has to wear, especially when someone is starting out. They might not be in a position to hire someone like some freelancer, because whatever the money they make, it might be kind of enough for themselves, or probably even not enough for some people. So an astrologer has to wear the hat of this admin. They have to manage their own calendars. That is the first big challenge, managing calendars. And that's kind of spinning my head at this moment, which is one thing. And on the other hand, we have to kind of create content. So especially if we are writing, we need to sit, write, edit, and then like publish on our blog or newsletter, whatever it is, and do it on a periodical basis. And we cannot hire anyone. Or you do a YouTube channel, you prepare what you want to talk, and then record, shoot, and that requires a special set of skill set, where you need to kind of, today the smartphones are good enough that we can just set up a good tripod and just speak even without a microphone during the initial stages, but it just cannot kind of keep going on like that. There needs to be some kind of
Mm-hmm.
improvement in what an astrologer does with their technicalities of what they want to do with YouTube. And the same for other channels of media, like be it Instagram or Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be an improvement and people need to do it, and how to manage all these things when they start out, and also kind of try and make this a viable or a feasible platform for them
Yeah.
to kind of grow after a reasonable amount of period of time, where they can hire some other younger astrologers and give them an opportunity to kind of have their own growth journey.
Yeah. It gets to be a lot really, really fast. Now, one thing I think that is a brilliant thing is just where we are in the world today. We do have some tools that are built for the content creation world out there that can help us, right? So we have schedulers that can automatically post, and some tools that like I didn't have when I was starting out going crazy, posting everything, right? So we do have some helpers now. But this is where I kind of have to take astrologers and our thought process to task a little bit, because the creator economy out there, which is what we live in now, it rewards clarity, not busy. And this is again why I encourage everyone, if you are solid in your astrological training and you're kind of feeling like you're ready to step out there, one, start a business. Especially if you live in the United States of America, start a business, because when you need to pay to take that YouTube class to really learn how to do something, you want to see the benefits of that. And as a person, you're not going to see any tax or financial benefits around that, right? So this is where things start moving behind the scenes, right? How do we be smart with the money as well as the time and the energy? The next thing is if you're solid with kind of your astrological practice, instead of signing up for that weekend workshop about Chiron or Sirius or Ceres, invest in your profession. You've got to pay for the YouTube class, right? Or you've got to, even if you're not at a place where you can make that financial investment, put it on your own calendar to sit down for the weekend with someone's YouTube channel, right? You want to do YouTube, go learn on YouTube and learn the basics of what's going on. And that kind of expense in our life still has to be budgeted. We have to budget our time as much as our money. But this is where I take the thinking a little bit to task with all of us to just kind of click the kaleidoscope, but with a lot of grace. With a lot of grace. We have to come at this kind of gently with ourselves. I think we've been what we've been for a long time. So now to say, not another digital course that you're not going to finish, YouTube. And then you're going to put that practically into application. Because the other thing is that while there's so much to do, because the algorithm, the bots like clarity, a well-structured business plan turns everything on its head, and then you have more time because you're not working on what you don't need to be working on. You know, so, and it gives you clarity exactly too on what to work on. Do I need to be building a class or a membership, or is this the time for me to write a book? One message, multiple modalities, but streamlined a little bit helps us navigate in this super busy time and see what tools we need to invest in as well. And so there is a way. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Abundance.
It is abundant. That is absolutely right. But the quicker too, we can find some kind of clarity, whether we're investing financially or we're investing with our time. The quicker we can put some kind of structure around this or be led, we can achieve some income stability. Because I know about the feast or famine life as an astrologer. I can't do it anymore. I've got children, right? Time boundaries, resting because my life is funded in a way that I need it to be, having some kind of retirement plan. These are things that allow astrologers to pour out their medicine in a different way. It's like wisdom compounds when your systems are set up well.
Wow. Wisdom compounds when your systems are set up.
Can you tell I'm like watching the markets right now as all of these energies are changing? Robert Weinstein, thank you very much.
That's excellent. So, so I mean, every astrologer has a very different business. Like some focus on readings, and some focus on education, some focus on media work, and they funnel their everything else through media work. And so,
Yeah.
like, but for astrologers who are kind of primarily focused on readings, but still they need to have some kind of social media setup, without which it is not possible. And another important thing that I want to talk about is website. So how important is a website? And today, even who doesn't kind of enjoy marketing or something like that still understands that website is the most foundational thing, and it's not possible to kind of get into the scene without a website. Is it fair to say that, or is it rude?
I do think it's kind of fair to say that, because very quickly, first of all, people want to see you. They want to see that you've got some kind of credibility, that you are set up in some way that makes you trustworthy, right? That you've got some kind of container that they can bring their most intimate selves, to include their money, and know that you are not a scammer, you're not a spammer, you've got something that shows them who you are, right? And me too. Me too. And anymore, I tell you what, like there's not a lot of things that I engage with that I don't go look up YouTube, or I don't go look up their website to kind of see what they've got going on. And this is where technology has been really helpful, because everybody's out there talking, right? We're out there talking. So if somebody is like, oh, I've never even heard of this Stormie Grace, and they go look and they start reading comments and reviews and things like that, this helps us. So I do agree that I think there has to be some kind of website presence. Now, do you need to be all over TikTok and Instagram? That may not be the vibe, certainly when you're starting out, but a website, even if it has just one page on it where people can learn a little something about you and book with you or buy your product or service, whatever that happens to be, that is important. And then I really believe for everybody coming out, having some kind of YouTube presence is important, because YouTube can support longevity, right? So it lets people see you and how you do business and how you provide your service. And then it keeps serving your business over and over again, because people keep seeing it, especially if you put up some kind of long-term relevant topic. It becomes full circle helpful. And it also lets people see the predictability of the quality that you have to offer. And that is going to make them want to trust you, have a consultation, join your program, join your community, things like that. So yes, I think we're in the digital revolution. I think being not online is going to hurt some people.
Yeah, no, that I think so. That's well established. Like we need to have a website, have a YouTube channel, and I also know that you mentioned YouTube is the go-to platform if we want to kind of put our face outside as astrologers. And I remember you saying that to Nicholas Polymenakos in your show with him in the Northwest Astrological Conference. So so that is something that I referred to, and how important it is to kind of make all these decisions early rather than late, because talking from a business and economics point of view, there is this opportunity cost which we are kind of losing out if we kind of delay it. So there is a sweet spot for each and every person, and isn't it important for astrologers to kind of just jump into it straight away and not just wait for too long until it's late?
I really want to say, listen, I birthed my business backwards, right? Even with all of the training and knowledge that I have and being able to see myself help other people in their businesses, as an astrologer, I just started. I was like, oh my God, I just got to come out here. But for me, that was much more about, I just need to start. I'm so afraid. I got to just start, You know, I was coming out to do something I'd never seen anybody do before. But I think that from an economic and energy standpoint, it's not the best. Start doing some content, start to figure out your spaces, but come into a space where you're getting a little bit of a plan together, because the personal cost of not having a bit of clarity, and your clarity will continue to clarify as you start doing things. But the number one thing is this: burnout, undercharging, resentment, inconsistent funds, inconsistent care, no safety net. Your clients are ambiguous, right? Because there's like these ambiguous boundaries. Like, what do you do? What do you not do? There's the space where when we don't have some kind of clarity around what we're doing, we move into the woo work space again, right? And a stereotype persists with that, which can be actively harmful to your professional life. So I do think that it is better to have some kind of plan, even if it's loose or wiggly, because even as I was going along, I got a little plan in place and it was working absolutely brilliantly, right?
Yeah.
And then it started to not. And I started to get a bit tired, and I'm like, what is this? And I had to get exhausted and out of ideas, which seems to be how humanity works, before I brought in a mentor to take me to the next place. And it was like, oh, this piece of my system is inconsistent. This is why I'm burning out. Plus, my life was changing. So with a little bit of a plan, it's navigatable. And if we can do anything for each other besides passing the craft along, it's like, let's make this part that we've often done poorly easier for the next generation. Give them a professional container to see a model that can work for them, you know?
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So I hear depth of content versus quantity is a very tricky terrain, because, and this is relevant with both content and pricing. So when it comes to depth of content, an astrologer can do like a 90-minute reading or 120-minute reading, and can charge as much as they want, but they can also do like 30 minutes reading and get $40 or $50 accordingly. But even here, there needs to be this balance between quantity and the depth of content. So it's just not sustainable if you just keep doing a lot of things for a longer period of time without getting reasonably compensated. So is it quality over quantity?
Sometimes, but you know what? I had to come to this in my own chart. I actually have a quincunx between my Mercury and my Jupiter. My Mercury's in Gemini, my Jupiter's in Scorpio, 3rd and 10th house respectively. And with Mercury and Gemini, I'm really good at making a lot of noise, right? Especially in public. I can be very busy. I can be very mercurial. That is why forever people have been like, you're a content monster, because I can put out a lot of content. I can. And in that way, in the beginning where I was at, my quantity helped me and my community that I now have, because we all got to consistently kind of see what I did, how I did it. You know, there was a lot of fleshing out that was happening, but I was also beginning to charge for services. And this is where they got to meet me at that Jupiter Scorpio in the 3rd, where we had a much deeper conversation. It was also one-on-one. It wasn't general anymore. It wasn't just about technique. It was a soul to soul about this person and what they were going through. So I think that it depends a little bit. I would start in the beginning. If you're just getting going, I would get a little bit of quantity out there.
Nice.
You know, mostly to see what it is that you're doing. But also now the quantity that I put out there is not as much, because I'm at a different stage of my life, but it's also every piece of content that goes out, I know where the funnel of it goes into my business now. And people have started to figure out if they want to come deeper with me. And this has been a game changer. So
yeah, I think you mentioned this on social media as well, that you're going to do much less than you were. So you had a slight change, or maybe a massive change in how you were going with your progress.
Yeah, well, and I believe, you know, here's the astrologer side to me, to business, is that by progression, I knew years ago that I would be headed towards my progress last quarter and balsamic phases. And I said, by the time I get to the winter season of my life, I need my business to be set up in a way that I can move more slowly and allow the winter time and the winding down of my being to come. And this is where, as astrologers, we can also use our astrology to kind of plan out business and things like that. What I try to help steer away from is us being stuck building our businesses because we're too much in our astrology. And it's like, no. I feel very good about your Mars Moon conjunction, but also can you just write that sentence down for me? You know what I mean? And that's where I get to kind of coach and help people and other people like me so that we get the thing built, so that whatever else is going on in your personhood, you have some space to experience it, explore it, go through it. Right?
Yeah.
I knew. I said, you know what? My winter season's coming. And since lunar phasing is a big portion of my practice, I needed to make space to start caring for my parents on a more serious level, / to lose my parents for things that had been in my life for 20 years to start to fall away. And I knew I needed space to do that. And it wasn't going to be able to be in having to make content every day or my business stops. That's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the other hand, again, I think this naturally takes us to pricing. So pricing isn't probably, it's not just about the time that we spend, but also it's about the value of how much we have studied over the period of years, and also the kind of information that could potentially transform the life of clients.
Yeah.
So, and that is where pricing becomes a little tricky. Find that sweet spot, and what was a sweet spot before a year may not be the same sweet spot after a year. So how do we kind of navigate this psychological distress that astrologers kind of go through when they want to price their services, especially their astrological consultancy services?
Yeah, well, it really does flash back to a little bit of what I said at the beginning. Is the first thing is to separate yourself from the skill, right? Like, I can't say that enough. People are paying for your expertise. They're paying you for your astrological skill and knowledge. You help them understand something in half the time that it took them to do it themselves, or if they're never going to do it themselves. It's not you. Your personhood is not for sale. Unless that's your business. If that's your business, then that's your business, right? But I don't think that's a good business necessarily, but your skill. And so from here, it sounds so easy. I want to acknowledge that it sounds easy, but this takes a little bit of work in a lot of people to learn to price with purpose, and you're pricing as a skill, and then you price for sustainability in there. Right. And you're right. In the beginning, oh my gosh, I made the mistake. I was started on YouTube and all of this great stuff. And I decided I'm not sure if I can do this. So I put in my description box, I will do a 15-minute reading for $15. And I thought nobody watched YouTube at that time. And when I did over 200 appointments, because people were watching and were interesting. Oh yeah, I learned a lesson, but I also learned a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that 15 was a great place for me to start to understand my skill and the sustainability feature of it, and to show me my relationship with receiving and money, right? And from there, as I saw my expertise really be able to deliver help to people, then I felt more comfortable adjusting my pricing model. The other thing I will say about pricing is, if the idea of making a good living as an astrologer hits you in a weird way, step outside of the astrological arena for a minute. Go to the people who are talking about healing your pricing wounds, your money wounds, your self-esteem wounds, your receiving wounds, right? Like, our astrology, I think, is built for us to need to learn, and astrology won't solve it all. It may give us this wound needs some attention, or this is absolutely spectacular. But then we have to venture out a little bit in order to bring it back in, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's a great point, because somewhere down the line we need to address some of these issues, and then come back with more faith and confidence to actually take what we deserve.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah.
I think that's very clear.
Yeah.
And I think astrologers can start with social media, have a website, but at some point there needs to be a diversifying option where they need to kind of branch out a few other side hustles or businesses within the astrological setup, which can be kind of recorded courses, or maybe they can teach in some institute or a separate setup. So yeah, so how do we kind of work with these things? Because recorded programs are a good way to have some kind of a passive income support. And what are some of the other strategies to kind of work with these things and try to make it a long term sustainable process? Because it's easy for astrologers to start planning and have income goals and everything, but having goals and having to work are very different things.
Yeah.
And sometimes quickly our plan might become difficult for us to kind of follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think a piece of this is like starting to change this conversation and the mind frame around it just a little bit, right? That, yeah, before, like you have the goal and it sounds all really great. But where I want to help us come to is like, actually, if you put that structured plan in place, just like, when we lay out our astrology classes, we take them through this, that leads into this, that leads into this, and it works, right? It just works. It's a very Saturnian concept. It just works. So to start to bring our heads around that like I can have a sustainable practice. As of before, I think you and I share the similarity of kind of coming into this going, I hope this works. And it's like, no, let's build a container where it's going to work, because we're going to put a strategy in place. From there, I teach one core product, build one thing first so that people know that's you. It's the one thing you take out in the world. You're kicking it, you're talking about it, you're pushing it, so that you can start to have some of the financial viability and the reputation viability coming in. And then we're going to build the next thing. And then we're going to build in the teaching or the writing that book or the, right? But I think also supporting each other in the way that we do business, in that it's okay to not have to do everything today, right? Yeah. Because there was certainly, I think for me and what I've seen in others, a bit of fear of like, if I don't get all of the podcasts out and I don't get this book written and I don't join this organization, who's going to know who I am? And is this going to work? Am I going to make it? It's very chaotic. So instead, creating a space where it's like, you know what? I'm a relationship astrologer, and I'm going to align really tightly with that. And then I'm going to align with the relationship astrology people and push my product. And then from that, as I'm learning in my practice, a book naturally comes from me.
Excellent.
Right? So we kind of allow, and I realize in this way it's Saturnian, but I'm very Venusian in how I go about things. I want something to flow brilliantly from you because it's already flown through you. And I think that it's possible. I have also done the Uranian dance of financial chaos. It's not the most fun.
So another important but small piece is newsletters.
Yeah.
How important is newsletter? I don't know if this platform is, or this episode is kind of enough for us to focus on the newsletters. But I know, like, you send out newsletters. I subscribe to your newsletters and I read them. But
thank you.
How important are newsletters? I always enjoy the newsletters of astrology. I subscribe to all newsletters, whatever I see, and I read. But there could be a lot of potential people who actually subscribe, and they could, be your clients. But I just want to know, like, regardless of whether newsletters are rewarding or not, is it worth still writing? And then kind of just, I see it as a way of giving back to the community. But in some ways, I think it can be used to leverage our
Hmm.
life, and to kind of feed us.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and this is, I want to kind of put this with another small thing in tandem, is that some people, not just astrologers, but in any business, some people just use the newsletters to sell products, which I think is a little
Hmm.
bit of a mistake, because
Hmm.
people who just receive the newsletters don't see any content, or they don't have anything to consume, but they just have something that we sell, and that might become a little challenging for people to continue following,
Hmm.
and suddenly they lose interest, not trust or faith, but most likely interest. So yeah, I think there is
Yeah.
a lot to kind of discuss, but I'm sure you'll be able to kind of do justice.
Yeah. We can just do a whole episode next time on newsletters.
Episode at some point. Yeah, that is very important. I think that it's been there on my mind. Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, the newsletter, I think it depends on what you find out about your people that you're serving. And also, are you doing professionally, or are you going hobby style with what you're doing? Right? Because that's going to change the way that you engage your newsletter. Now, the first thing that the newsletter does that we want to be absolutely clear on is it takes a group of people who have said they're interested in something you have to say or something that you do, and they agree to hang out a little bit more closely with you. So it gathers your people in one place so that you can talk to them, right?
Yeah.
The next thing that it needs to do, because of what it is provide some kind of value, right? You can, and I've been a part of newsletters that are just sales, right? That doesn't feel good, but that's not what I'm looking for from that particular container when I agree to be in it, right? So it needs to offer something of value and perspective and connect to how you use your skill to make something about their life better, clearer, more informed, something like that. From there, your newsletter should, especially if you're doing a business, if you're running it professionally, tell them what products or services you have that can help them bridge a gap if they're having a problem, right?
Yeah.
If they're having a problem. Now, different clientele like to be informed, educated, sold to different ways. So there is some piece here where I say, if you're not sure how to do that, or you put out a newsletter and you feel like creepy about it, bring in some mentorship. With mentorship, we go further, faster, and we start to understand what we're doing. And that makes everything kind of smooth out. And then your newsletter can be great. For some people, in the beginning of my business, a newsletter was not the most important thing. It really wasn't. And I didn't have the time and the capacity in the beginning to also be doing a newsletter. And then as things went on, I did a newsletter about once a month because that's what I could tolerate. I was like, oh my God, I was getting so many people's newsletters in my inbox that I thought, I work with women of a particular age and we're trying to not be stressed out all the time. Would getting another newsletter from me stress them out? So I just did what I could tolerate and I thought would be good for them. And now it's a little bit more because I'm also not putting out as much content. So as we engage, we get a different connection. And these are just some of the business things, but I also have a business mentor. So we talk about these things because I'll go crazy. I don't want to do that. I want to be good to people. I want to be a joy in people's inbox. I want to retain the clients that I have, and I want to show other people how to do that. So if a newsletter is all you've got right now and that's the best that you can do, go for it and love on those people in your newsletter. And if it's not a thing, skip it. Skip it. But you got to figure out where your people are.
Yeah, one important thing that I really liked what you said is like it takes a group of people that kind of want to hear what you want to say, and that is a very key point. So these people subscribe to the newsletter because they like your work, and the general idea is that like 5% to 10% of subscribers can become potential clients.
Yes.
And yeah, so this is a very, very important piece, because I am very, very attached to newsletters, so I might be a little biased here.
Yeah.
uh, but I just feel I've been reading newsletters for many, many years, and I've also been sending newsletters on a regular basis for a very long time, more than 5 6 years. So, but I've always kind of subscribed to those people who actually offer some content, like people
Mhm.
who write about something. Like maybe if they're writing about weekly astrology, there needs to be at least like 150 words that kind of rejuvenate our mind and give something, a new
Yes.
perspective or something like that. And it doesn't have to be like so huge, uh, you know but
Mhm.
something. I'm getting notorious for writing longer newsletters, and I understand that. But I think if someone who is not really fond of writing very long letters or contents, I think at least 150 to 200 words will probably kind of do justice and
Absolutely.
keep people interested in what we have to say.
Yeah.
So the key is like we don't need to be everywhere online, but it's important to kind of pick where we want to be and stick to it with a good strategy, and also some form of consistency to kind of make sure that we are not just showing up and then going off,
Mhm.
vanishing for a long time or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think I won't ask you for any advice for beginners or something like that and make everything look cringy, because you've already kind of mentioned a lot of advices and a lot of things. But what I take away from this conversation is just to be very wary of your boundaries, and money can be a good boundary. And also don't be afraid of charging, because compensated for what we do. Choose your
Mhm.
audience, pick a platform and stick to it, and don't wait, just do. You learn by doing, and
Yeah.
not by waiting. So
Absolutely. And
that,
and just like this idea that if we bring, I love the word fluency because I have a lot of Mercury in my chart, but if we bring cosmic fluency and business fluency together, what we're going to be able to do as people is, first of all, not burn out. And as an industry, we can serve more people, we can serve them for longer, we can serve them with less harm. And that
yeah,
is really what I think we're going for. So go do
yeah.
it and get a mentor if you need one.
Yeah, mentor. Yeah, I think that's an important psychological aspect, where we sometimes need to accept if we need help,
Yeah.
and if we don't accept it,
Yeah.
maybe we
Oh,
are
and
kind
it's
of like,
very, absolutely, and it's very clear. I loved, I want to offer this because it was offered to me, is that if you've been trying to do something like make money in your career, your profession, whatever it is that you do, and you have tried for a year or longer and you haven't been able to do it, you need a mentor, because there's something you don't know that someone at the next level just needs to show you how to do it.
yeah,
And for
I
me, it was
yeah,
like, oh my God. It was like mind-blowing information that I was like, oh, what I'm doing is not working.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. I think yeah, that's something that we need to accept. So I just want to kind of I had one thought, and which is kind of losing now. Yeah,
It's
I
running off.
I failed to write it down, but I lost the thought. Um, yeah, okay. Connecting with other astrologers, how important it is to connect with other astrologers and be part of the community, because I think that's the key. Uh, Kind of it helps us connect a lot of dots. At least that's what I think. So I would like to
Yeah.
hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think that it is an amazing thing to do. I really do. Because I think that people change because of people. And so if we want to have a different experience, or we want to make an impact in some way, being connected to some kind of community is going to help to be able to do that. Now, it doesn't mean that every community is right for
Mm.
everyone, but the other thing about any profession, but specifically astrology, is it can be a lonely solo kind of sport, right? Because we hang out in our own little minds, and we're doing our own thing. So to have people in your tribe that when you say a certain thing out loud, they laugh and they echo and they explore with you, that changes our hearts. That is also a prevention from burnout. It is a way that we can grow, we can expand, we can become better in our messaging as well. So I think in this way, community of some variety is important, and I don't care what anybody says. The world we live in, sometimes it's also, who do you know? Who have you connected with that can show you another door that you can go through? Because maybe you thought to yourself, I'll probably never be a speaker. And then, Laura's like, you want to speak at NORWAC? And you're like, it turns out I do. Like there are just these, because that's, this is where the astrology of us gets amazing. What transit was happening when you said, I'll never speak at a conference? And then you get asked to speak at a conference and then you do. How did your own chart just open up in your journey? And I think that we do that and can have those experiences more richly in some kind of community. Certainly, traveling by ourselves is going to limit our growth. But also, I will say, I think that at the point in everybody's journey, two things happen. One, your community itself changes. It just changes because you change. And so where you need to engage is different. And that there's a point in community where the road is kind of lonely because you're changing and you're maybe not what you're going to be yet. And so you're in the hallway and you're not quite sure where you are. And even then, being around astrology can just be richly supportive when we're in the I do not know what this is yet stage. Because let me tell you what I'm not a fan of is taking hostages. And so what I mean by that is that when I was starting my astrology business, or when I've changed things in my astrology business, I will tell my family about it and they are like blank stare, right? Because they don't know. They don't speak this language. They don't understand what I'm going for. But then I keep telling them over and over and over again, and I'm building a resentment because they're not on board with my dream, dang it, And I'm like, that's me making them a hostage. I'm trying to make them be what they're not naturally, instead of going to the people who already are astrologers. And then I go say stuff to you guys, and you guys are like, oh, well, did you think about this? And I'm like, oh my God, I did. Let's do that. So there is a richness that comes with it. That was a long answer. Sorry.
It was a great answer, and thanks. So I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover, and I'm pretty sure we want to but I would like to kind of explore a lot of these much more deeply in some upcoming episodes. And I'm pretty sure so many people would be very happy to hear back from you. So where can people find your work, Stormie?
Absolutely. You can come and visit me in Astroland at stormiegrace.com, and it's Stormie Grace on YouTube as well. Or if you are ready to build your business, learn a little bit about YouTube, you can come see me at legatiaacademy.com, and that is my business school. And they also have a website, a YouTube channel as well. But either way, whether you come to Stormie Grace or to Legatia, which Legatia means legacy in Latin. That is why it is named that. Both spaces will take you to both spaces.
Excellent. So, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And thanks, Stormie, for this beautiful conversation. And I look forward to connect with you again. So thanks. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And thanks, everyone, for watching. And I'll see you next time.